to the In-Between-Man podcast, where men can be men. This is going to be our fourth episode going over different headlines in the State of American Men 2025 study. Okay? And the title of this heading is, actually, you know what? Before we get started into the title, if this is the first time you've ever downloaded or listened to my podcast, please do me a favor. I have in the description a playlist that breaks down the who, what, where, and how of my podcast. It talks about our mission, talks about who I am, talks about where we're going to be putting this information out, and how we're going to be leveraging it. And that will give you a very good, quick understanding of what we're trying to accomplish. And in short, we're trying to answer the question, why are men struggling today? And it's a real dynamic. It includes a lot of different things. It's not just one thing. And my job here is to share my experience with you in these dynamics that I knew nothing about or even ever considered until about roughly 4 years ago. And the world's changing, you know, and we as men need to consider rewriting what we think the ideal narrative is for men, as opposed to have it rewritten for us. And so check that out. You can check out my Etsy store too. I have some funny cards that you can bring with you on a first date. That'd be great. All right, but let's jump into headline number 4. Headline number 4, and actually the title of this podcast is Online Narratives and the Manosphere. Okay, so what's the manosphere? You may not know. I'm going to explain it to you here in just a second. But headline number 4 is pressure to be a provider and economic anxiety are exacerbated by where men spend their time online. If you haven't listened to any other episodes, men primarily value themselves based on their ability to provide financially to a family or whatever, to whatever dynamic. They believe that their worth is tied up into all of that, of what it encompasses. And economic anxiety is really the state we're in today, where a lot of the traditional things that happen in the economic and business world aren't happening anymore. And men are starting to feel sort of this tug of anxiety about maybe losing their job or not being able to provide as much, or get demoted and not making as much money as they thought they were going to be making, or have been at a job for 20 years and they get laid off because of whatever reason. It's a thing, right? And what headline number 4 is saying, depending on where men spend their time online, it can be exacerbated. It could be worse, right? So the notion of online narratives and the manosphere are connected together. And I spent a lot of time doing that thumbnail. I hope it makes sense and resonates with people, but whatever if it doesn't. All right, so let me just run through a definition of the manosphere, okay, for those who don't know. What the fuck is the manosphere? The manosphere is an online ecosystem of male-focused communities, largely characterized by anti-feminist, misogynistic views that frame men as victims of society and feminism. And if you're going, fuck yeah, I belong to a lot of that shit, that's okay. I'm not judging you. But let me give you a broader definition. The manosphere is a broad, loosely connected network of websites, blogs, and online forums focusing on promoting masculinity, men's interests and rights, often with a strong opposition to feminism. It includes groups such as men's rights activists like the MRAs, incels, which are involuntary celibates, men going their own way, and other places called the pickup artists, and fathers' rights advocates. While these groups sometimes have conflicting views, they generally share the belief that society is biased against men due to feminism, and that feminism promotes hatred or prejudice against men. I'm not in that boat. I'm not in that boat because I don't feel like I need to be right. Right? Like a lot of these places where men go, they find value and worth at the expense of character assassinating all of the reasons why they want to be in that group. There's feminism. They're getting the short end of the stick, right? Like they're being asked to accept diversity in a way that they may not be ready to, like I get all that stuff. The ideology of the manosphere centers around anti-feminism, misogyny, and the promotion of traditional or hyper-masculine gender roles. The term "take the red pill" is commonly used within the manosphere to describe awakening to the belief that society oppresses men. It has been associated with extremism, online harassment, and the radicalization of men into misogynistic attitudes towards, sometimes linked to violence against women. The manosphere overlaps with far-right and alt-right movements and has gained mainstream attention since the early 2010s. In a 2024 study of the Manosphere, the publisher explored online spaces where men spent their time and the messages they received. In the 2024 Manosphere research, they asked men and women whether they believed the ideals that proliferated in the Manosphere. So I think it would be safe to say that I am trying to create a group, a community of men who understand these dynamics that we're talking about, online narratives, what the manosphere is, right? And accept that these things have happened. But instead of getting mad and angry, take the information and help them understand what they could do if they wanted to change, right? Most of the time, men just get angry and resentful, and often they'll join various different groups. I did this too, and want to prove my point and smash it down your throat. And all that does is create what my two favorite words that I love saying here online and anywhere else is conflict and controversy, right? Like I'm right, you're wrong. Conflict, controversy. How many websites or TikTok channels have you seen men debating women and women debating men and women talking about what men need and men not talking about anything and men isolating and women asking why there's no one around? Like it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. And I don't want to be connected with those types of groups. I want to be a whole new group where if you want to learn and understand what's happened over the course of the last decade or even 5 years and talk about it and hopefully agree that there's some changes that need to be made without pointing fingers and take accountability for rewriting a narrative that works best for us. Because no one else is going to rewrite it. Anyway, I got off on a tangent. I'm sorry, Butch. Here, I'll let you out. Hold on one second. So Butch is a cattle dog, and I don't run him as much as you should. Anyway, he gets a little rambunctious at times. All right, so what I'm going to do is within the description of this podcast, there is a link to the State of American Men 2025 study. The information that I'm sharing with you is from this study. And the last 3 episodes that I've published correlate with the headlines in this study. Okay, so headline number 1, headline number 2, headline number 3. This is going to be headline number 4. Okay, and I'm gonna read you some dynamics, because this isn't a long one, believe it or not, that will help you further understand what online narratives are being shared, how they do exacerbate someone who's experiencing economic anxiety and living in the man box, and even taking and enjoying the manosphere for whatever reasons they like being in the manosphere, right? So here we go. What are the narratives men are hearing online? This research study asked men and women. What the narratives are saying online is men have it harder than women when it comes to new opportunities. 48% of 48% of the people in this survey who are men agreed with that statement. And 29% of women believe that men have it harder than women when it comes to new opportunities. All right. Men can have their reputation destroyed just for speaking their minds these days. 75% of men agree with that statement, and 49% of women agree with that statement. Here's another narrative. Things are generally better when men bring in money and women take care of the home and kids. 56% of men agreed with that statement. 48% of women agreed with that statement. Feminism is about favoring women over men. 61% of men agree with that statement. 42% of women agree with that statement. We must be an alpha male these days to get a partner. 45% of men agree with that statement. Is that 37? I think it's 37 or 31. Hold on. I want to get it right. 31%. More masculine energy is needed in the workplace. 55% of men agree with that statement. 41% of women agree with that statement. For one group to succeed, one has to lose. 50% of men agree with that statement, and 36% of women agree with that statement. And that kind of goes back to the narrative that I'm trying to convey. I don't think that for one group to succeed, another one has to lose. I don't agree with that. I think that there are many different ways that we can present healthy alternatives that reinforce some of the anxiety and concerns and stress that men may have in the marketplace. And I'm all for a debate, right? But I don't like polarizing. I'm not a polarizing guy. I have some very, staunch Republican views just as a Republican, but when it comes to men, when it comes to personal growth, when it comes to trying to help the greater good of men, I'm all in. And I don't think being polarized is the right way to convey a positive message, a caring message. You know what I mean? A lot of these groups, men, women in particular as well, right? Like, we want to be right. And so what happens is there's a level of character assassination that's going on where no one is open to hearing anything. It's more about proving to you that you're fucking wrong, right? And not taking what they're saying or attacking you or how it feels to be attacked personally. And not too many people can do that. I have a very hard time with that. But that was some of the narratives that I wanted to make sure that you understood, that if men go off and want to learn more about what these narratives are, they can sift into the manosphere and start to, take on a firm stance on why all these things are relevant to them, and why, this feminine movement or this woke world has unfairly what's the word I'm looking for? Criticized and overlooked things that men have been so accustomed to doing for so long. Now we don't know what to do. But we're feeling like we're being personally attacked because what was acceptable by society 10, 15 years ago is no longer acceptable in society today. And I don't think that was done maliciously. Call me crazy. I think it was done because women were ready to be heard and they were overlooked and not considered. And I don't blame them for that. I really don't. I'm not thinking about how something is going to affect anybody else when I desperately have support from society and everybody else around me. So online spaces attract men for a variety of reasons. Here's some good news. More often, positive. So what are some of the reasons why men go online? Reasons men say they go online. Here we go. To have fun for entertainment. 94% of men agree with that. And I'm going to throw my hand up in the air and say, since, I don't drink and I don't, partake in, other activities. And, because of that, I don't go to bars. I don't, hang out in places where people are doing a lot of drinking. I mean, I can if I have to, but I just prefer not to go there. And so I spent, you can't go to bars the way that you used to, where you're slapping, girls' asses or pinching their bra string or shit like that. Like, you can go to jail for that stuff now. And so where do we go to be men? We go online. I play Warzone. I develop relationships with other like-minded men. It's not a bad thing. Okay, I've met a lot of incredible people. And if you want to learn more about the incredible people that I've met, within this podcast and within this YouTube channel is the Food Tribe podcast. And the Food Tribe is my way of thanking all of the men that I met online who played Warzone with me and gave me a sense of purpose when I had none offline. So I would log in and play with all these guys, and it was just everything that I needed. It was just everything that I needed. And it can be like that for a lot of people. I mean, Warzone can also be very destructive as well. Anyway. Reasons men say they go online. 80% of them say to find a community. To find a community. I want nothing more than to create a private, male-only Discord server. I have it. It's ready to go. There's a couple screener questions that you'd have to answer in order to be in. But I want to create a community of like-minded guys who are open to having these conversations about like why men are struggling. And then if we have those conversations, we can also log into Warzone and go in together and kick some ass, because that's what we do. Well, you can't cheat. If you cheat on Warzone, you're a loser. But you can still be a part of our group. But we're not going to play Warzone with you if you're a cheater, because that's not right. Okay? Even though everybody else does it. I mean, everybody. Reasons men say they go online. For advice about making money, 76% of men agreed with that statement. Here's another interesting one. And one I can say I can wholeheartedly identify with, which is reasons men say they go online is to feel understood. Yee, right? Like, where do we go to learn and try to identify with people so that we can feel like we're understood, right? Like, it's fucking how many people? 75% of men. That's a lot of men. That means there's a lot of dudes going online searching for something that will help them feel like they belong or understood. And man, it's sad. It really is sad. It upsets me. Here's another good reason. Oh, no, here's another reason, which isn't good. Reasons men say they go online to express my frustrations and anger. 63% of men agree with that statement. So on the flip side of the coin of being understood, right now I'm going to go online and I'm going to troll and prove my point to every single person I see online that has an opposite opinion. And it's interesting because just about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, I was in a rage about a lot of the comments that people are making about the Alcoholics Anonymous. And I just don't see the world the way that some of these other people do. And I've never experienced in my time going to AA over 30 years the type of things that these people are saying, and what they're doing is they're promoting or selling something for themselves at the expense of AA to inform people on why AA is a cult. Okay. But they're not, I don't think that their approach is genuine, because if you have to criticize something that doesn't have an opinion on your thoughts of their criticizing behaviors, it's an easy target. And I got into an argument with a guy who 100% was gaslighting me and telling me all the reasons why I had all these feelings about denial, paternalism, like all of this stuff. And he was full of shit. And then I realized I'd probably spent like 3 hours, maybe even longer, obsessing about responding back to this guy. And you know what happened at the end of the day? Fucking nothing. He's going to do his thing and I'm going to do my thing. I just spent a lot of time doing nothing, and it just made me angrier. So I stopped doing it. Reasons men say they go online for advice about relationships, 61%. And here it says, being in the man box is overwhelmingly linked to reporting being online to find community, to express anger and frustrations, and for any type of advice. Of men who voted for Trump in 2024, the main reason to be online is advice about making money. And that's it. So this is really going to be one of those episodes that we're just going to cut right to the chase. We're not going to go on and belabor the point. Online narratives and the manosphere. Okay, how they're connected, right? Online narratives can be constructive. Online narratives can be not constructive and promoting negative behaviors about whatever they believe in. And the manosphere is where men go to online to reinforce all those things that make them feel like they belong to a certain narrative or a certain group. And again, like I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is anyone not being open to having a conversation about what's really happening with men. Why are men struggling today? Let's really talk about why men are struggling today. And it's a broad topic, and it's going to be a topic that we touch on and go over for a long period of time. At least I hope it is. And I want it to be a safe place where men, if they want to, can grow personally, and accept certain aspects that have happened to them, either in their personal life or even now. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot that we need to change. And I'm going to read this quote one more time because I want to reinforce the fact that we're in a very difficult state right now. I mean, like today. So this was taken from, I believe it was the second or first headline, and it reads something like this. Without deliberate intervention to redefine masculine success beyond economic provisions and to challenge the man box emotional restrictions, we risk losing an entire generation of men to depression, anxiety, and despair. Now, I looked up how many people were a part of a generation, right? Like Gen Xers, Gen Yers, baby boomers, right? And the research that I found or did on Perplexity said it could range anywhere between 50 to 60 million people. 50 to 60 million people. So I'll read this to you again in putting that number in there. You ready? Without deliberate intervention to redefine masculine success beyond economic provision and to challenge the man box emotional restrictions, we risk losing roughly 50 to 70 million men to depression, anxiety, and despair. You know, we got to find something different. We got to think out of the box. And I want to do that and hopefully do it with a lot of other people. So I'm just going to be the tip of the spear for now, and then it will change hopefully later on. But listen, I can't tell you how much I appreciate all of you tuning into the podcast. Please consider sharing it with other folks, even though I've told you on other podcasts not to do that. The reality is that if we don't get people hearing at least a different narrative, whether or not they accept it, whether they question it, whatever, right? Like, it's not relevant. Like, I'm passionate about being positive, deliberate intervention that I think will be, that I believe in my heart will be positive, it'll be loving, it'll have kindness, all wrapped up together while you can still be a fucking man. Okay? While you can still be a dude, chew tobacco, you know, take a shit in the woods, piss on some tires. I don't care what it is, right? I want to try and help teach people what's been going on around them so that they can make informed decisions about whether or not they really believe in what they're listening to in these forums that are usually created based on pure resentment, pure and total resentment. I would say to you, if you're unsure or you're not sure whether or not you're a part of something that is like that, ask yourself if there's any anger involved. And is the mission statement of that community, male community, grounded in anger and resentment? Or is it something different? Right? Like, you're smart enough to figure out what anger is. You're smart enough to figure out what character assassination means, right? You're smart enough to figure out the difference between listening and pounding my point down your throat. Like, we've lost the willingness to debate because we're so stuck in our ways, and I hate that. I hate it. And I don't know what we're going to do. I'm going to do something. And doing this is a start. And I hope you'll stick around and continue to listen and subscribing to the YouTube channel, subscribing to my podcast. Please, if you disagree with anything that I'm saying, freaking comment on it. I don't care if it's negative. Negative comments are totally fine. I think I've never had a lot of them, so I might not like them later on. But, you know, just be open to the idea. That's all I ask. And if you don't agree with it, that's fine. We can go our separate ways. Yeah, you know what I mean? So do me a favor. Do yourself a favor. Go out and get yourself like a nice, I would like to say like an iced tea beverage of some kind in a Yeti cup that you can swig at any time you want, like right now. And do me a favor. Do yourself a favor. I'll see you on the next one.